Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you, another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks, sampler for these series videos I've been doing for a little while now. I go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff, then, folks, I'm going to talk about stuff. I'm going to let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff that, Tom, I'm doing this, folks, I'm not going to lie. This was just a circumstance where I got home from work, I wanted to make something to eat, and I saw an opportunity for a review. But we'll get into that. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm yammering on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm in my back room today, which means we get Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. And whilst I'm doing all that, folks, under the amazing gaze of Peter Can Thunderbolt poster, I am doing something else. What is it? I'm wearing a super cool shirt. And folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for today? Well, folks, what happens to be, boom, my Texas Hippie Coalition shirt. One of a few that I have, actually. Texas Hippie Coalition, they're a band out of Texas that I got into some years ago, like probably, at this point, over a decade. I was a big fan pretty much from the word go. As soon as I saw their stuff, they've got sort of traditional kind of Southern style metal. I just thought it was badass. You know, their lead singer is a guy named Big Dad Rich who absolutely lives up to every aspect of his moniker. And they're just a really cool fucking band. I've been really fortunate. I've seen them perform live a number of times now. This particular shirt is actually one of my oldest concert shirts. And it was actually they were the first band that I went to see just by myself. You know, all my previous shows I'd gone to with friends, but this one, just nobody really lined up with me, and I still wanted to go, so I just said fuck it and went. And I had a blast. So much so that I've gone to see them subsequently since. And on top of that, I've taken videos of their performances that I've attended. Those videos are on this channel as well, just in case maybe you want to check them out. If nothing else, I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction because I think they're a really great band. But anyway, what am I trying for today, folks? What are we doing here? Why is it, basically my after work meal? Because, yeah, like I said, I got through with work and, I didn't really eat a lot, but I kind of had something, so I didn't want anything big. And I was looking through my cupboard, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, man. We'll get in a review. So, what am I reviewing for you folks? What are we doing? Well, oddly enough, it happens to be, boom, it's Menudo. But it's not just any Menudo. It's ramen Menudo. It's instant ramen Menudo. Yes. So, yeah, okay, that's the thing that exists now, and you're taking this journey with me, folks. First of all, let's get a thing for the thing. I always like to get a noodle pull because it's just that damn sexy. It looks like this. Ha 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 ha. And yeah, man, so I actually have already reviewed. It's from a company. What the hell are you called? It's called like CIELO or CIELO or something like that. CIELO. Sure. And I reviewed some instant pozole from them, and I alluded to this in that review. That was like about a week ago, and I finally got around to doing this one. And I mean, I'm hopeful. I really like Menudo. If you've never had it, it's like a traditional Mexican soup. Yes. Super savory, usually made with like kind of the not best parts of the animal, but super good. I absolutely love it, though it is definitely a love it or hate it kind of thing. So we'll see how this goes. And I should mention with the pozole, I made that the proper way with the, boiling the water and doing the whole thing. This one I'm doing kind of an experiment. This one I'm doing with, I just popped it in the microwave. It said it's a thing that you can do. So, figure we'll get in, we'll give it some stuff. So let's go ahead, get ourselves some pozole. Or Menudo. I think Menudo was also a band back in the day. Ooh. Okay. I've got some. Okay. I like that. It's nice. Treat to one of my hamsters because he's being adorable and I love him. How you doing, buddy? You like a treat because you're a silly little waking up hamster? There you go, buddy. His name is Bernard. He's a very good hamster. But yeah, I actually like that quite a bit. It has, I mean, it's very similar to the pozole, if not nearly identical. Pozole and Menudo are typically somewhat similar, at least in my experience anyway. Seems like Pozzole's mostly Menudo, just with some different add-ons. Not that that's a bad thing or anything. Um, I think for that reason, I think this kind of works a little bit better because my expectations for the Pozzoli were a little bit higher than the Menudo. With the Menudo, because it is, again, and I'm saying this is very much an amateur, not anybody who knows. I'm not an expert on Pozzoli or Menudo. Um, but because it is a little bit more basic in its construction, in my experience, I think it kind of works in this regard because it's like all they have to do is sort of get the broth to sort of work to a similar extent. And even through just the noodles, you're definitely getting that. Now, I do have to mention the noodles. The noodles are a little bit different consistency. They're a little bit thinner than kind of your standard instant noodles that you might get from, like your top ramens and what have you. And mind you, that's not a bad thing. It's just something of note. The consistency is just a little bit different, but they're still nice. They eat well. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. Um, but yeah, I appreciate the fact that, like I said, it's very herby, and it is one of those ones that's a little bit fancier. You put in the herbs, you put in the seasoning, and they've even got some oil that you put on as kind of a finishing oil. Kind of gives it, I think, a little glossiness, a little acidity. Try some of just the broth. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to say that they absolutely nailed the broth flavor. It's kind of like a mix between like an instant ramen and a menudo broth. Like, I mean, it makes sense given the circumstances, obviously. But it's not as savory. It's not anywhere near as, doesn't have that depth of flavor that menudo does. But it does have some of the flavorings of it. So it's a little bit weaker than what you would expect from, a proper menudo. But it's also not entirely dissimilar. Like, you're definitely getting some of those flavors. Again, it definitely has something of a savory aspect to it. I think overall this is pretty nice. Whether or not I like it more than the Pozzole, I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I think the noodles are nice. I think, and credit where it's due. Like I said, this is the microwavable, incarnation of this particular instant noodles, and I actually think it works perfectly fine. Might not be quite as good as the Pozzoli was in terms of the presentation, but like we're talking pretty minuscule. I think if anything, probably the biggest benefit to that is you can kind of control a little bit more the level of the broth that you want because you can kind of let it evaporate off a little bit more. With this, it's a very soupy broth, because you're doing it to the line, which I always go by this as being the fill line, which unfortunately is not represented inside the cup, which is annoying. But all that said, two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? And the third question, does it stack up to actual menudo? I'm going to go with yes, kind of, and not exactly. I think for me personally, and it kind of ties into the third question, I do think it's a better representation of menudo than the Pozzole was for Pozzole. It's reasonably close in flavor, and enough so that for me personally, I get a menudo essence of it, and ultimately with it being an instant noodle, concoction, that's really all I'm expecting. I don't expect to get that same level of depth. I just want it to be a decent approximation, and I think it pretty much does that. And so for me personally, even though yeah, it's not anywhere near as good as the real deal stuff, I could still see going over there and having it as kind of my cupboard of many instant noodles because for one thing, I just think overall it's nice. I like the flavor of it and everything, and there's nothing to dislike about it. But beyond that, I like the fact that it gives me another option. It's not just another traditional ramen. It's obviously doing its own thing. It's evocative of something else, a different culture. And I like having that option available. So I do think that I would personally go over there and get it again. It might not be my go-to or like an outright favorite, but at the same time, I would say probably it would show up semi-regularly. If I'm recommending it, though, this is where it always becomes a little bit of a thing because who am I recommending it to? Am I recommending it to people like me who are basically just kind of lazy and maybe don't want to always do a lot of cooking, especially after a long day at work? Yes, if that's the case, I absolutely am because I think that, especially with the fact that you can do this on the microwave now, I've proven it, and the results are still pretty damn solid. Yeah, it's quick, it's convenient, and like I said, it's a nice, different version of the instant noodle classic, and it's nice to have that variety. And I think that ultimately, this one I like I said, I like the savoriness. It's got a little bit of a kick, not I didn't really talk on that too much, but it does have a little bit of a kick to it. Though I wouldn't count it as being like spicy, but it's got a little some oomph to it. Um, or am I recommending it to kind of the casual ramen enjoyers, people who probably just grab these to eat on lunch at work kind of thing? Probably not. It's a good one, but the fact that it is a little bit more involved for one thing, it's also a pretty hearty portion, so it might just be a little bit much if you're doing again just kind of a lunch type situation. But it is good. If you feel that what I've said kind of coalesces with things that you want, even if again you are more quote unquote casual about it, give it a go. I don't think, if nothing else, I don't think you'll be disappointed unless you just want really authentic menudo, in which case, well, obviously that's not going to work. But 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year. Folks, go over there, have themselves a truly, give me 1 second. How you doing, buddy? Where's my big hand? Right. Yeah, where's your butt? Oh, sorry. That was Bernard again. I just noticed he kind of dug himself too far away from his water bottle, so I went over there and propped it up a little bit. But anyway, uh, final 2 things, folks. Number one, try to bring some positivity into the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what you do if you can't do it all the time, I know I can't do it all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. And when we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there whenever possible. Take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, here's what I want you to go out and do. If you're like me and you're a lover of animals and you have some pets around, please make sure you always take care of them, put their needs first when you can, because they are so much about what makes the world a great place. And I firmly believe that. I am going to go over there as soon as I'm done here. I'm going to go over there and kind of set up some things for my hams and stuff like that. So, anyway, bye.